Welcome back to Soccer Unscripted, the podcast where we deep dive into the world of soccer from every angle. Whether you're a lifelong fan or just starting to explore the sport, this is your go-to space for all things soccer. I'm your host, Daisy Vigueras, and as a soccer enthusiast, I'm here to explore the conversations, debates, and moments that make this sport so captivating. Today we're joined by head coach Ernesto Ramirez, who coaches at the University of St. Thomas. Coach Ramirez brings years of experience and a deep passion for player development and team success. From his work at the collegiate and club levels and his reputation as a defensive strategist, he's left an impact wherever he's coached. In this episode, we'll dive into his coaching philosophy, his approach into building successful teams, and what he envisions for the St. Thomas Celts. Let's get to know the man behind the whistle, Coach Ernesto Ramirez. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I'm really humbled to be part of this podcast and just another episode.
So let's jump right in. How would you describe your overall coaching philosophy and how it's evolved throughout your career?
So my coaching philosophy has evolved over the years of experience that I've had at the club level and the collegiate level. To its roots, it's still giving the players the opportunity through the game itself to develop as an athlete, but more importantly as a person.
That's some amazing insight. And what would you say are some specific qualities you look for in a player when recruiting for a program like St. Thomas?
So this year at St. Thomas, it's been a little bit of a challenge trying to find what fits into my vision and where I want to get to the program to the next level. So there are particular aspects, technical and tactical aspects that I look for a player. One of them is understanding the soccer IQ. When we have to talk about tactics, you need to be a versatile player that can adapt to any type of game situation. We're looking for players that are technical, that have very good technical abilities, that can play with a good tempo to speed up the play. So those are two things that I have high priority in recruiting players.
And how would you say you build upon your players' soccer IQ? How would you say you improve it while they're there at St. Thomas?
So with the college season, it goes super fast. Like you play the amount of 20 games in 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, and every game it's different. Every game is going to throw its own challenges. And understanding from, let's say, training on a Tuesday for a Friday game against a team that is sitting back, what qualities do we need, and for them to understand what's needed to be able to overcome that situation, to quickly changing that mindset and turning it onto a Sunday game where now you may have a team that's pressing you for that midfielder, for that forward, for that center back, to be able to identify the qualities and the strengths from the opponents and turning them into weaknesses for them.
So with that, how would you say you tailor training sessions to address both team needs and individual player growth?
So when planning for a season that lasts 3 months, right, you have to look back and start from the game day, going back to your first day of training. And in those days that you're training, you have to be able to get 2 things done. Number one, it's coaching and having training sessions that will help the team's needs, whether it's solidifying our defensive line, whether it's improving our wide play, whether it's working with the forwards. But at the same time, you must be able to give players 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes where they can work on their individual skills. From a center back, if we need to help him improve on his defensive or aerial defensive skills, we have to make sure that they get those repetitions. From a forward, they need to be able to get those repetitions on 1v1 situations or turning and finishing. So just planning the session where we can kind of cover all areas and having a good thought of what we're trying to achieve.
Could you share maybe a few examples or an example of how you've helped players elevate their game to reach the next level?
Yes, for sure. So one example that, and I think this here, it's not only me. I think looking back in the few years that I've had coaching players, that whether their next level was to get an MLS academy, whether it was to get to a semi-professional team or a professional team, I think it's not solely me that does the job. It has to be a collaborative work where I give him an insight of maybe things that I feel he needs to improve on, right? But at the same time, if the next year he moves to a different coach, that next coach will be able to help him and sharpen his skills to become a better player overall. So I personally don't believe that I made a player better by myself. I think it's working with the coach that had him before me and moving them on to the next coach in line so that he can continue to grow. But nonetheless, it's having the right mindset, the right attitude to get things done. Like, they need to understand that just because they get the work done, it's not going to be given to them. They have to go through these cycles of, they go their peaks and of success, but then they're going to face some challenges. And is it how mentally they're prepared to face those challenges and overcome them?
No, I totally agree. And how would you say you prep your players for that mental aspect or that mental side of soccer?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of psychology now in sports, in soccer. Working for 2.5 years in Tijuana with Cholos, understanding how the professional team and how the under 17, the under 20 coaching staff puts a professional psychologist, right, sports psychology there, I think that just opened my eyes into maybe having meditation, maybe have visualization methods or practices. And even at Occidental with Rod, he was huge. He was huge in that area where psychology has to be involved in our training sessions. Just like we train our technical aspect, we also need to train our minds to understand what we're looking for, but at the same time, if it doesn't happen, we need to be, sharp enough with our mind to be able to say, what, this is the reason that it happened. It's to get better, to improve. I still believe that in my year, what I envision for St. Thomas is bringing in someone with those qualities, maybe someone with that experience or that background in psychology to help us elevate our players' performance.
That's amazing. And I know you mentioned Occidental. So at Occidental, you contributed to winning both the regular season and the conference titles, which while reaching the Sweet 16. So what were some of the key factors behind that success?
Yeah, it brings smiles to my face talking about Occidental. And it's not just Oxy. It wasn't only me. Similar to the answer, to how do we prepare players or how do we develop them. It was a very unique setting. The right coaches were put together for those 2.5 years where, we worked together for one main goal. Sure, I was at some point in charge of the defensive shape and how do we defend and how do we deny the opponents to break us. But it was, getting insights or getting tips from every coach and how do we make it better for the team. And I think when you have that, when you're able to have a group of coaches that are selfless and are working for the best of the team, I think that's when you have more success. We fell a little bit short, in our opinion, of reaching our maximum potential. I think the 16 was a good run, but we felt very strong that we could have done, deeper into the tournament. But it was just so fun to be able to watch film, watch the opponents, discuss our thoughts, discuss our training methods, discuss what the training session had to be like to prepare the team.
That's so wonderful. And obviously, such a huge congratulations to you. And that's such a huge achievement. So with playing in the playoffs and playing there comes games that are going to be mentally challenging or just challenging. So how would you say you maintain focus and morale during challenging seasons or games?
So again, it goes back to having, so for me, it goes back to having from the top of the pyramid, right? And in our sport, the head coach, we pretty much are at the top of the pyramid. And however you feel, whatever you translate to the team, that's how the rest of the pyramid will work. So if you have doubts in what you're doing, if you have doubts of the season, of what's going on, and if you don't feel that you're capable of achieving things can go very, south very, very quickly. Because you're going to stumble, you're going to fall. And believe it or not, the players will notice that. So again, it's that mental preparation that, yes, we're trying to do our best to win games, and that's the number one thing that we're preparing for at the college level. You're trying to win games. But a referee bad call, it may hit the post and it goes wide. Any little thing can happen to give you or to lose a game. You just need to be sure that this is what you're envisioning, is you're going in the right way, and the players, translate that to the team.
That's wonderful insight. And obviously you had an amazing run at Occidental. So I want to know, what drew you to the role at St. Thomas, and what are your immediate goals for the program?
So the immediate goals for the program, it's an interesting story because while I was coaching at Occidental, we played St. Thomas in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We ended up beating the team. We continue on to, with our season at Oxy. And a few weeks later, the job opened up. While I was coaching against St. Thomas, we were coaching against St. Thomas, this is a team that was very unique in the college world. It was a lot of Hispanics, a lot of, just low-profile players, but very technical. Like, this is a team that they can play, they can move the ball, they're good, they understand the game. And it was a good team that I actually saw myself coaching them when the job opened up. Like, I saw it, I visualized it, I applied for the job, turned out I went for the interview. So everything just kind of happened from there on. But it was just very attracting to be able to be there as a head coach because of the profile of players that they have. I identify myself with that style of play. I identify myself with the players themselves. Me coming from Mexico, a lot of these guys, we come from the same background, first generation going into college. So there's a lot of similarities there that drew me to apply for that job. And now it's mine. And believe me, it's been a good run, good experiences, but we want to continue more.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a great community that you're in, and St. Thomas just has so many opportunities, and that's amazing that you're there. So what would you, with St. Thomas being a D3 school, what would you say is the most challenging thing when it comes to recruiting players at the D3 level?
So I've been at D3 with Oxy, and I've been at D3 with St. Thomas. The biggest challenge with St. Thomas, it's a unique setting. We are the only school, we're one of two schools in the Houston area. You're talking about the fourth largest city in the U.S. And there's a Division I, which is Houston Christian University, and it's us. So any local player that wants to stay in Houston, they want to go either St. Thomas or they want to go to HCU. We have a vast opportunity to recruit. And the challenge is not finding the players. It's, can they fit into my vision? Can they fit into what I'm looking for? And we touched a little bit on the technique and understanding, the tactical component of it. For sure, there's going to be a lot of good players, but do they fit what I'm looking for? Can we both click and say, you know what, coach, I think you're the right coach for me, and player, I think you're the right player to make St. Thomas to the next level?
And what would you say that recruitment process looks like? Is there an interview? Is there a...
Yeah. So it varies. So for example, right, with the Houston kid, we get a lot of emails, we get a lot of phone calls, we get a lot of text messages of kids that are interested in coming to St. Thomas. They have to have a good academic standing. They have to have good grades in order for me to look at them. And it's not even that they will not get admitted to University of St. Thomas. It's more of me finding that player that is disciplined, that takes academics seriously, and that at the same time while doing that, they want to achieve a personal success, right? Whether it's playing at a high-level Division III, because we are a high-level Division III in the SCAT conference. And so the next piece is getting in contact. We'll talk a little bit about how he is. We'll start the interview process. And yes, they'll come in and we'll meet for about a day. I'll bring them into campus, tour them around campus, meet with their families, meet with the parents, and see if it's something that, like I said, that can both beneficial for him, for his family, and for us at UST.
That sounds like an amazing process and honestly just an amazing experience. So with that, how do you position St. Thomas as a destination for top-tier athletes who might also be considering higher division programs?
So again, it's St. Thomas, we're unique. You want to look at four things. You want to look at the school location. It's somewhere that, you know, that you want to be, whether you play soccer or not. You know, we're in about 2 miles outside of downtown Houston. So I think location for us is prime. We have very good academics, good engineering programs, good business programs. So again, it attracts a lot of male athletes to offer those programs. We are a very good athletic program. You know, you come into St. Thomas and it's a program that you see banners hang on the gym, with softball, with basketball, with us, you know, always competing in the finals. So St. Thomas has been in the conference final 5 years in a row. They won 3 championships back to back to back. So you come into a program that it's challenging you, right, to be the best version of yourself, and at the same time manage your academics, so that when you leave, you become employed and you have good success in the sport. And if you want to continue with the sport route, then I think you have the good qualities and the experience that you can pursue a professional career.
Yeah, and it sounds like the program itself it creates better human beings and better, more successful people, right? So just switching gears, how would you say you stay ahead of emerging trends in the youth soccer development world?
This is going to sound a little bit maybe interesting, funny. It can create a little bit of controversy here. I believe in what I envision for the program. I believe in my training sessions, you know, building them and really just focusing on 1 or 2 things every session. You know, you cannot touch on a lot of things at once because then they're going to go wild, right? But rather than focusing on emerging trends, I think it's being understanding what is it that I'm looking for. You know, if I'm going to just browse the web or browse whatever that may be, right, and look for anything that's being trendy, that may actually confuse you as a coach and confuse the team more than benefit them. But if you're true and if you believe in what you're looking for, then yeah, you'll hit those trends. But this one I may take, and I may take 1 or 2 things. This 2, I don't care if Pep is doing them, Pep Guardiola, you know, it doesn't fit what I'm looking for. So in terms of the training, in terms of me becoming a student of the game, I think that it has to be for any coach that wants to be part of, you know, whether it's the club level, the college level, and even professionals. They have to stay students of the game because the game does evolve. But again, we don't have to hit at every trend that pops up. No,
definitely hitting on things that are attributed to your philosophy and
Sure.
what you believe in. So you did mention what you envisioned for St. Thomas. So I know I asked you what you envisioned immediately. So where do you see the St. Thomas men's soccer program in, say, 5 years? And what steps will you take to achieve that vision?
Yeah, so coming in from the first year, we came in and we designed, we set ourselves for a goal. Again, you know, we fell short from that goal. But we did a lot of good things. We ended the season in the final. You know, it was tough to get a team that had been working together for so many years, come in with a new idea, come in with a new coaching staff, even bringing in, you know, 15 new freshmen. So it was a little bit of a mix. We still achieved to make it to the conference final. Losing to Trinity, obviously, it's something that we have to work and be there again next year. What I envision, it's being more than just winning championships, right? Like, of course, I want to win championships, and that's the reason that they got me there. And it was very clear I'm there to win, you know? So it's getting St. Thomas into a national, you know, landscape where people around the U.S. will know what it is, who it is, where we are located. And for that, you know, we have to get into at least the Final Four of the NCAA tournament. But besides that, it's important that the players that come through the program, that they have a good experience, that they feel that they were challenged every day at training, every game, and academically. And when they leave, I want them to look back and say, this is the best experience that I've ever had.
No, that's definitely honestly answered my next question, which was how you are able to define success beyond the wins and losses. And what you said is like really insightful, and bringing better players than what you guys started with out of it seems like the real success there.
Yeah, and I'm going to add one more thing to success. At the end of the day, again, you know, as coaches, we are the role models. We are the head of the program, and any player that I take under my wing, I want them to succeed, just like if it was my son. You know, I want them to do better. I want them to grow, to become better husbands, to become, you know, the future of presidents of any company, right? And maybe start on their own thing. I want them to be innovating. I want them to be creative. And I want them to feel confident that they can achieve anything they put their mind to.
That sounds like you're such a great leader to them and such a great role model, honestly. So I want to know what inspired you to pursue coaching, and how did your time at the West Virginia Institute of Technology shape your approach to leadership? So
the leadership and why I chose to be a coach, I have to take that back to Coach Florin Marton, who was my coach. And I had a few years of, you know, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have someone that can kind of guide me to, you know, to take these classes, to be eligible to do that. And of course, that's on me. That's on everyone else. But his leadership, his mentorship guided me. He allowed me to be helping him with coaching, right? Even though I was not eligible, to be there to see what the day-to-day operation was at the college level. In the recruiting process as well. So I think that has a lot to do with it, with Coach Florin. He opened or gave me an opportunity, not only to play or experience the college level, but to open my eyes and see something probably bigger than this is what I'm experiencing now, for sure.
Yeah, that's honestly wonderful insight. And I just want to know, what advice would you give to aspiring coaches who want to make an impact at both the collegiate and club levels?
You know, the advice that I can give, it's, again, identifying what is it that they're looking for, right? Understanding what level they're coaching, and understanding, you know, what's expected from them at that level. If you're talking about a coach that's developing players at the younger level, whether it's, you know, U9 to U13, I think it has to be fun for them, right? Like making sure that they're energetic, that they're positive, that they want to give those kids an opportunity to come back. We don't want a coach that it's focusing on wins and losses and make it, you know, hard for those kids because they're not winning games, and then therefore the kids are leaving the sport soccer. As they grow and grow older and get into that college level, I think it's understanding that, yeah, we're there to win, we're there to compete, but at the same time, it's making sure that that we care about the person that we're bringing in, and how do we shape them, how can we mentor them, you know, through our experiences, to then when they leave, they can be maybe the next generation of coaches, right? Continuing to be the student of the game, I think that is one thing that can never go away from a coach. Doesn't matter who you are, to be honest. There's always new ways to develop and to get better.
Yeah, and with so much experience yourself, what is a piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Believe in myself, believe in me, and yeah, I think that's the biggest piece of advice. You know, there's going to be moments where we tend to look left or right and we don't know what the answer is, and we're trying to kind of maybe do different things because we don't really believe in ourselves. But when you have that belief, then you can kind of find a way, and you can open your path onto whatever it is that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's amazing insight, especially for the younger players who might be watching, the younger players who are struggling with decision making or knowing what's next for them on that path. So just as a fun way to end it, I want to know, what is the worst formation to play against, and how do you counter to adjust your formation, you being a defensive strategist?
That's a tough one, because see, I don't know if I want to answer you. I don't know if I can answer this question truly. There's no such thing as a formation because there's so many different ways that, let's say, a 4-3 can shape up, right? It's more about tendencies. For example, I remember facing Cal Lou at Occidental, and they gave us a little bit of a challenge playing a 4-3-2-1, kind of like a Christmas tree, if you want to call it. And it was very challenging because they packed the middle. But it didn't change, we didn't change anything. The only thing was changing the tendency was, okay, rather than playing through the middle, it's open them, give them, stretch them out a little bit. So then they have to move and then finding those pockets of spaces where we can penetrate. But that was a fun game. I remember going back, thinking back, it was a really, really fun game because it really challenged us as a coaching staff to say, okay, what did they do different? Because this is not the same Kaulu that we played a few weeks prior to that game. So they definitely challenged us, and it was fun. We were able to solve it. We ended up winning and onto the final. So I think 4-3-2-1, it's kind of like the kind of weird formation, if you want to call it, or something that is not seen every day. But it was good for them for first half. And the second half, we came in, we opened them up, and we got the win.
Yeah, that's great. You definitely cracked the code on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
But thank you so much for being here today on Soccer Unscripted. It was a pleasure getting some amazing insight from you, and it was just great having you here. Thank
you for having me. I need to make it official, right? We got to make a little toast. Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year, wherever you may be. Cheers to you.
Thank you so much for being here, Ernesto. It was amazing getting some great insight from you and just really getting to know the soccer world through your eyes.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, thanks for kicking it with me here at Soccer Unscripted. I'm your host, Daisy Vigueras, and this is The End of the Game.